Well, after another pretty disastrous week in a row now for me, it's time for my Week 4 picks of the 2016 NFL season. And this week I'm not doing the webcam because I was up all night to a massive storm on the eastern shore of Maryland that's still over us today. It's already noon, so I didn't get no sleep, and I did not feel like having a fucking light from the webcam blinding me in my face when I'm already hurting all over for no sleep. So no webcam this week. So for the second week in a row, I went 7-9. Oh boy. And overall, 26-22, which is a win predictions of 541, so barely above 500. And just like last year I said, I think I started off 14-2, then went 7-9, then went 4-12. So it's still this point of the year where we're finally starting to realize who's really good and who's really shitty. And of course, we're finally starting to figure out the teams that we thought are going to be good are turning out to be dog shit, and the teams we thought were going to be dog shit turn out to be good. So it's not really that surprised me that I've been fucked up so badly this year so far. Hey, I'm still overall probably better than I was last year, though. And of course, here's the playoff bracket if the season ended today after 3 weeks. So Patriots and Broncos for the fifth season in a row would have the top seeds, which is incredible how well they've been managing to do that. It would be the Chiefs at the Ravens and the Steelers at the Texans. And then, of course, in the NFC, it would be the Vikings and Eagles with the top seeds. It would be the Giants going to the Rams and the Cowboys going to the Falcons. Alright, then we get our first picks underway with the Thursday night game, the Bengals hosting the Dolphins. The Bengals have not beaten the Dolphins since 2004, so it's been 12 years since. And although both teams have been doing... Actually, Dolphins... They've been doing bad. They're bad, but they're not as bad as I thought they were going to be to start the year. All their games have been within a win. If everything went right, they could have probably been 3-0. I mean, they did almost beat the Seahawks. They did almost pull a come up from behind victory against the Patriots, and they did beat the Browns barely. So it's not like they're that bad. But the Bengals, oh boy, they're playing shitty like I thought they were going to do to start the year after that terrible loss against the Steelers. But since the Bengals are the home team, and now they're finally playing what should be an easy opponent that they had to play Jets, Steelers, and Broncos, I think the Bengals would finally get their first win against them after 12 years, 24-17. Then, of course, it's the first international series game, the Colts, the Jaguars. And, oh boy, both teams are dog shit this year, although not really necessarily surprised about that, although the Jaguars are definitely underachieving. Then again, it's quite not that much of a surprise. But don't forget, the Jaguars did destroy the Colts last year when they hosted them. And their first game of the year when it was at Indianapolis. That went down the wire. I think it went into overtime. That's how close it was. So apparently it looks like the Jaguars finally are good enough to keep up with the Colts. But then I watched the Colts will destroy them next up in London. But I think the Jaguars, although they're not at home, they're slightly more balanced than the Colts are. And I think the Jaguars will just barely finally pull off their first victory, 21-20. Then it's the Falcons hosting the Panthers. And remember, the Panthers lost their only game in the regular season last year at the Falcons, which I accurately predicted. I remember I got laughed at so much that week. Look who was right in the end. But the Panthers, like I thought, they suffered a massive Super Bowl hangover. And the Falcons, surprisingly, not really on defense, but offense, are definitely much, much better than they were last year. And that's one thing that the Falcons did not have in that game against the Panthers. They did not have a good offense. It was more of a defensive victory against the Panthers. And although their defense is still not good with that much better offense and the way the Panthers have been playing, I think the Falcons will re-win this one, 31-13. Then it's the Raiders at Ravens. And remember, the Raiders have never beaten the Ravens in Baltimore, ever. 1996, 1998, 2006, 2008, 2012, all losses. And the Ravens are honestly probably the least impressive team to be undefeated. I mean, all their games were against terrible teams, and all of them were very, very close. Just like last year. If everything went wrong in all those games, they could have been easily 0-3. And the Raiders, although 2-1, they've been slightly disappointed, especially on defense. I looked it up. They were the worst yards defense in the league. They had the worst pass defense in the league. They had, I think it was the 4th worst run defense in the league. So, yikes, that's not really good. And then you got to go to the Ravens, who have a very good defense. And Flacco, although not good so far this year, but at least solid against that defense, especially at home, which you've never beaten them there yet. I think the Ravens will once again squeak out a very close victory, 24-21, and get the 4-0 for the first time since 2006. Then it's the Lions at Bears. The Lions have never lost there yet since 2012. And I don't know what's up with the Lions. I mean, well, Matthew Stafford's doing pretty good so far this year, but they can't fucking win games when they need him the most. And of course, the Bears are dog shit like I thought. And I probably, which I did at the very beginning of the year, I predicted the Bears would win here against the Lions every year the last bunch of years, and I always got proven wrong in the end. So this time, I think I'm finally going to hopefully save face and just say Lions will win 35-17. Then it's the Titans at Texans, I mean. The Titans have never beaten the Texans in Houston since 2011, and like I somewhat predicted, the Texans are underachieving so far this year after that 27-0 destruction against the Patriots. And of course, J.J. Watt, not only has he only gotten 1.5 sacks in 3 games, now he's going to be out maybe for the entire year. Boy, looks like the wheels are finally coming off the Texans, so they should consider themselves lucky. The Colts and Jaguars put themselves in such a massive hole, and they had a great gift that they have to host the Texans to start this off. And since they're hosting, I think they'll just barely win 24-23 since that Titans defense has gotten much better, but I also wouldn't be surprised if the Titans somehow pulled off an upset. Then it's the Bills at Patriots. The Patriots' final game without Brady, and oh boy, Tyrod Taylor, of course, is being disappointing. He can't get a lot of yards, and he can't get a lot of touchdowns either. And although the Bills had that massive victory against the Cardinals last week, that was more of the Cardinals being fucked up pieces of shit, which I thought they were going to be this year, than more of how they turned around after firing their offensive coordinator after their defense sucks. I'll never get that. But the Bills, they won last time in 2014, but that was because the Patriots rested their stars. The last time the Bills beat the Patriots, they've never beat the Patriots in Foxborough with their full stars, I believe. In Gillette Stadium, I mean. So I think the last time they actually beat them with their starters was 2000. Oh boy. But of course, the Bills are dog shit. The Patriots, once they get Brady back, and if Gronk's fully healthy, the Patriots are definitely going to be a legitimate Super Bowl contender with the Broncos and Steelers at the moment, and I think they still will win 27-20. Then it's the Seahawks at Jets. The Seahawks' first appearance at the Jets since 2004, and the Seahawks defense and LOB is playing extremely well, probably even the best it's been even in those Super Bowl years. And of course, their offense is very underachievement, and that's if Russell Wilson even plays this week, because that's not fully sure yet. But the Jets, Fitzpatrick throwing those 6 interceptions last week against the Chiefs. Now that was hysterical. And now he's got to go up against a real secondary with Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman and everyone else that I can't quite remember off the top of my head. Oh boy, they're going to get slaughtered, and the Seahawks will win 36. And most likely 20 of those points will be from defense alone for the Seahawks. Then it's the Browns at Redskins. First time here since 2008. And of course, we couldn't get the RG3 rematch against the Redskins. Although it probably would have been better for them anyway if they didn't have them. And of course, that was a pretty good comeback they had against the Giants last week. Although I don't think that's going to happen again this week. But thankfully, the Browns are dog shit and they're at home. So I think the Redskins will just squeak out a 24-21 win. Then we get to the 4 p.m. games, and we're going to start off with the Broncos going to the Buccaneers. It's the first time the Broncos have been there since 2004. Also, that was the last time the Broncos did beat the Buccaneers with that 2004 meeting. And, wow, the Broncos are 3-0. This is the second straight year where the Super Bowl win team has started off 3-0. And they actually look a lot better at the moment on the offense than they did last year. And the defense still is incredible. Von Miller with 5 sacks already. He's an absolute stud, the best linebacker in the league. No question about it. And the Buccaneers, their defense is still terrible. Jameis Winston, he's put up some good numbers, but of course he did that shitty performance against the Cardinals. Now, of course, the Broncos have 2 good studs and corners, but remember, that secondary also can get shredded too, just like last year numerous times. And Jameis Winston could shred it, but in the end, the rest of that defense is still incredible. And that offense of the Broncos is definitely looking a lot better, especially with Trevor Siemian after that 4-touchdown performance against the Bengals, who actually have a real good defense, and he lit them up well. So I think the Broncos will win again, 31-19. Then it's the Rams at Cardinals, and oh boy, talk about a major turnaround. Well, I already knew, predicted pretty much before the season, the Cardinals were going to regress mightily, and so far, I've been proven right after, I got so many shit from the Cardinals fans this year saying, no, Tim, you're just wrong. We're going to go all the way this year. How's 1-2 to start off so far? And the Rams, after that terrible performance I predicted against the 49ers, they're 2-1. But that win against the Seahawks was predicted, and that win against the Buccaneers was quite exciting, especially with that storm having to delay for an hour. But of course, the Buccaneers had a shitty defense, too. So, of course, that leads to the high score. And although they did beat the Cardinals last year, I don't think that's going to happen because the Cardinals do seem to play a lot better, of course, when they're at home, especially on defense. And I think they will hold the Rams down to like 2 touchdowns in this game, and the Cardinals will somehow just pull off a lucky victory 2014. Then it's the Saints at Chargers, the first time since 2004, and the first time Drew Brees is going to return to San Diego in 11 years. And of course, I'm the unlucky prick that don't get to see it. Why? Networks, of course. And it's going to be an offensive shootout, and Phillip Rivers is going to have, both Phillip Rivers and Drew Brees are going to have a great game. But of course, both teams' defense, they're dog shit. But the Saints are a special case of dog shit. And since the Chargers are at home, the Chargers, I think, will win 42-31. Then it's the Cowboys going to the 49ers for the first time since 2011. And finally, congrats to Dak Prescott for finally getting his first pass touchdown last week. And watch how long will it be before he gets his second one. Oh boy. He's solid, but he's not being the Russell Wilson that I expected that he would be. And of course, the 49ers are dog shit. They just were lucky enough to beat a terrible Rams team. And it looks like that 27 points they put up against the Panthers were more because the Panthers suck so far this year than the 49ers just being lucky. But the Cowboys are much more balanced and a much more better team than the 49ers, and the Cowboys will win 25-18. Then we get to the Sunday night game, a matchup between the two AFC wildcard teams from last year, the Chiefs at Steelers. And the Chiefs are trying to beat the Steelers for the first time since 2003. Also, the Chiefs are going to try and get their first victory in Pittsburgh since 1984. And of course, the Chiefs look like they're much better at the moment after that 6-pick performance against the Jets. And of course, the Steelers laid an absolute egg against the Eagles. What a disastrous game that was for the Steelers. And Big Ben, oh my God, he's looked terrible so far this year. And it's not even having anything to do with injuries that I know of at the moment. Oh my God, all those interceptions. He has a QB rating of only 84. What the fuck is wrong with him so far this season? But the Steelers, for the last decade, have been consistently doing good against the Chiefs when they host them. After all, they haven't lost them since 2003, and they haven't lost them at home since 1984. And those were a whole bunch of good Chiefs and Steelers teams during that time. And of course, being at home right now, and overall still a much better team, I think the Steelers will win 24-10. And get some sweet vengeance after that terrible loss against the Eagles. Then we get to the final game of the week, and that's the Monday Nighter. Giants going to the Vikings. Who would have thought the Vikings would be undefeated still at this point? After all these injuries, it's incredible. And of course, like I said, I did not think this should be a Monday night game, because remember how badly the Vikings destroyed the Giants last year. And of course, they had to make that a Monday night game, despite that. But of course, since it seems somehow, some way, the Vikings, despite all these injuries, still managed to win somehow with that incredible defense. And the Giants, they finally look like they're back in their normal selves again after losing to the Redskins like that. So I'm sure the Vikings will pull off another incredible victory, 24-16. So those are my picks for Week 4. And I think last year I did make a big rebound in Week 4 now that we finally knew who the shitty teams and the good teams were. So hopefully I'll manage to make a big comeback for Week 4. And remember, if you're a crazy fan of your team and don't like what I have to say about your team, suck my dick and drop dead. And I can't wait for week 4, and I can't wait to watch Dolphins at Bengals tonight.